I'm Zane. I'm 7 years old and I have ADHD. Here's what having ADHD is like for me. When I'm in school, I often move around. A lot. Even when everyone else is sitting down. When my teacher is reading a story or talking for a long time, I'm usually doing something else. Sometimes that something else is talking to my friends. When others are playing a game and following directions, I'm doing my own thing. Hey, I have an idea, and I'm going to tell you right now whether it's a good time or not. This bugs my teachers and my friends. Often, I forget to do my homework. Other times, I remember to do it, but then leave it at home. When I'm at home and my mom or dad asks me to do something, I often forget. Even if it's something easy like pick up your shoes and put them away. I'll start to do it, but then somehow it doesn't get done. I know this isn't my fault. They know it isn't my fault. It's my ADHD's fault.
We got an opportunity, a responsibility, not just to ourselves. We got a legacy to uphold, people to make proud. So we got to take advantage of the moment, of the momentum. We got to protect our power, be the vanguards of our own voices. We got to keep doing the work, because our right to be heard won't be taken away on our watch. We got this. We got next.
I got no rules, I count 'em.
Hello. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to season 3 of Live with Dr. Dawn. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn Camila Brown, serial entrepreneur and your expert in all things related to mental health. I'm double board in child, lesson, and adult psychiatry. I'm a sports psychiatrist for elite athletes and internationally recognized ADHD expert. I'm also a 2-time best-selling author, a keynote and corporate speaker, podcaster, and media influencer. You can find me at www.drdawnpsychmd.com, and I look forward to connecting with you. As I welcome back my faithful followers, as well as those of you who have tuned in for the very first time, let me know that you're here. Go ahead in the virtual space tonight by typing your name and where you're viewing this broadcast from. We want to see you. Let me know that you were here. I see some people coming into the space. Hi, Nisi from ETU. What's up? Oh, you're in Mexico. All right. I love it. And thank you for sharing Amazability, Nisi. What's up? How you doing, Brown Burton? Hey, Raquel. It was so Sora, Raquel. Thanks so much for tuning in, as well as Sora Tanya Sloans. Good evening. You all, thank you so much for tuning in. Go ahead and share this with everyone you know in the virtual space. We want everyone in the room. And Sora Sloans is viewing us from DC. Thanks so much. And go ahead and share this with everyone you know, all right? Listen, for the months of September to up to January, season 3, I've been excited, you all, to highlight celebrity alumni from my alma mater, change agents is what I call them, of Xavier University, Louisiana, who have just changed the world of politics, civil rights, medicine, in the world of intimacy, serial entrepreneurship, and comedy. And tonight, my guest fits into multiple categories. She is a dear friend of mine and is also my soror, Dr. Christy W. Gooden. She is a trailblazing surgeon, scholar, teacher, and advocate who has devoted her professional life's work to advancing the field of transplant surgery by paving a timeline of many firsts, not only just for African-American female surgeons, but for African-Americans in general. Some from her brief bio. Dr. Christine Gooden is a multi-organ transplant surgeon at Medical City Dallas. Her special interests include adult and pediatric kidney, pancreas, and liver transplantation, as well as dialysis access surgery and advanced laparoscopic and robotic surgery. Dr. Gooden received her Bachelor's of Science in Biology from the University of Louisiana and was chosen as one of the top 40 under 40 alumni in the inaugural year of 2016. She then went on to receive a 4-year dual degree, medical doctorate and master's of public health and health systems management from Tulane University Health Science Center in New Orleans. Dr. Gooden completed her residency in general surgery at the University of Alabama at Birmingham Medical Center. She was the first African-American woman to do so. During her residency, she was an NIH scholar working in the University of Alabama at Birmingham Cardiovascular Transplant Laboratory. She then completed an American Society of Transplant Surgeons accredited fellowship at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, the first African-American to do so, and is one of the only 10 African-American women currently working as a transplant surgeon in the United States. Dr. Gooden started her career at St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri, where she was a multi-organ transplant surgeon, founder and director of the Dialysis Access Center, and became the director of the kidney transplant program. She has served on several regional and national boards and committees, including the medical review board member for the Heartland Kidney Network, which oversees all of the end-stage renal disease programs in a 4-state area, and the United Network for Organ Sharing, otherwise known as UNOS, Minority Affairs Committee. She was also the director of quality for all of the transplant programs at St. Luke's and served as the chair of the Quality and Patient Safety Committee for St. Luke's Hospital's physician group practice. At Piedmont, she partnered with Morehouse in Atlanta to mentor minority students and residents. Now she is the founder and director of the North Texas Dialysis Access Clinic and has helped Medical City Dallas become one of the fastest growing transplant programs in the country. She continues her patient advocacy work by serving on the Medical Review Board for the End-Stage Renal Disease Network of Texas, and she is slated to take over the pediatric transplant this year. She's a published author, accomplished speaker, and most important, a wife to Mr. Gregory McGee and the mother of twins. Dr. Gooden is the epitome of strength, courage, and resilience, and I want to add in faith. She's relentless in her pursuits of becoming the first for African-American women transplant surgeons and has tirelessly prepared to perform at her personal best to deliver for her patients. She has prevailed against all odds and has established a legacy for her children. I am blessed to know her as a dear friend and sister, and I admire her drive and determination to break barriers and build bridges for the next generation of leaders. I can't say enough about my friend. So I'm going to actually have someone share something about her.
I'm Jason Smith. I lost 150 pounds to get a new kidney, and I'm excited to start my new life.
He came to see me and I measured his waist, and we had a really frank discussion about weight, what his risks are, and what's preventing him from transplant. His weight distribution was primarily in his abdomen, and that's where we do the operation. And so I told him that he might want to consider bariatric surgery.
Jason's case was unique. He had been on dialysis for about 3.5 years prior to transplant. Ongoing dialysis and ongoing obesity really put his health at risk and was a life-threatening situation. And so I'm very proud that we could intervene for him. The bariatric surgeons at Medical City and the transplant surgeons here at this hospital work closely so that patients can achieve transplant and ultimately get off of dialysis and become healthier through weight loss.
Life on dialysis versus life on kidney transplant, not only is the quality of life better with the kidney transplant, the length of life is longer with the kidney transplant. If he had not lost the weight and had not come to our program to get hooked up with the bariatric program here, he could have just languished on dialysis, not even given the opportunity to be evaluated for a transplant.
It means the world. Medical City Dallas gave me that chance to get a new life, not once but twice, once with the sleeve and once with a new kidney. I've got the freedom to go on vacations or leave, not having to be in a dialysis treatment for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm very grateful. Very grateful.
Yes, one of many that have benefited from Dr. Gooden's service. Let me see. All right, let's get to know her, you all. Let's get to know the warm yet driven person behind her accolades. Let's welcome our special guest to the Live with Dr. Dawn virtual space. The only way we know how, by pressing that love button for Dr. Christy Gooden. Welcome, lady. Hello, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Doing great.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, like seriously. So
you have a lot of love in the room, from your line sisters to your other sorors. Well, I definitely just want to display all the love that you have here in the room for you. Gamma Alpha is here representing, supporting our dear soror. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
How you feeling? How you feeling coming in 2021?
You know, first of all, I got the first shot of the vaccine. I got the second shot coming up this week. I'm already ready to schedule my masked up still, but schedule my massages because my neck and my back are killing me sometimes. Thank you to my husband for helping me out when he can, but he's busy too. I want to get my nails done at some point, again, masked up. But to have the freedom to actually think about these things is what I'm excited about. So go on 2020, 2021, let's go.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Yes. Well, Dr. Gooden, let's start. I always like to start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from, your upbringing?
Sure. So my dad and my mom grew up in Alabama. My dad is one of 9. My mom is one of 7. So I have a huge family. And it's just me and my little brother. Shout out to my brother if he's on here. My dad is actually a physicist. And one of the also first. He recently retired. He was worked at the Pentagon and actually had a flag flown at half for him that he has in the house. So, you know, I come from a really big family that were really strong on education and being the best that you can be. So I grew up, we moved around a lot because my dad worked for the military. He wasn't in the military, but I graduated from high school in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, after being born in New Jersey and moving around. And then I stepped on the campus of Xavier University in Louisiana. And once I went on that campus, I was like, okay, I'm not interviewing the place. I'm not going nowhere else. This is it. This is it. Because they were number 1 and still are in placing African Americans in medical school. And I knew when I was in 6th grade that I wanted to be a doctor and wanted to be a surgeon, actually, because I dissected a frog. And the first time I held that scalpel, I was like, you mean I can do this? I can cut people for real and not get, you know, in jail for it. So,
right.
So once I figured that out, and then I saw that Xavier was number 1, because for those of us who've been through the Xavier court period where they sit there and send you stuff after stuff. I mean, starting your sophomore year, they just send you stuff and you're just like, who are you? But I went on that campus, fell in love, and it was one of the best things I've ever done in my entire life, and has led me to where I am today. So
wonderful. Why was Xavier that one for you when you stepped on the campus? What did you see, Dr. Gooden, that made you want to choose that?
So I grew up in a predominantly, and have always grown up in predominantly white areas, and have had, you know, great friendships along the way. But sometimes when you're one of the few smart Black children in that area, you almost get treated as like you're an anomaly, or, there's so few of you. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes the Black kids didn't know how to accept you, and sometimes the white kids didn't know how to accept you. So I never really felt at home per se. When I walked on Xavier's campus and I saw Black students everywhere studying, learning, you go to the pre-med office and they have all these people who were accepted and they all look like you. I was like, sign me up. You know what I'm saying? Sign me up, because I had not had that experience. And at Xavier, I learned that you're not the smartest person in the room, and you're not the most talented person in the room. And it taught you humility, and taught you that there's a greater purpose. I literally fell in love on that campus, just walking. I walked, because my dad went to HBCU as well. He went to Stillman. But I didn't really understand until I went on that campus and was just like, I need this. I need 4 years. I call it my 4-year hiatus, because I didn't have to deal with micro or macro aggressions. I didn't have to deal with people questioning why I'm here, or if I'm smart enough to be in a certain space. And I remember Mr. Kevin Hill said one time, you walk in that room like you belong there, because you do. Amen. Nobody had ever said that to me. You know what I mean? And so, those 4 years, I would do them again and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Shout out XU all day.
You know the history of why HBCUs were created, because we weren't accepted at PWIs, or predominantly white institutions.
Right.
Just to know the excellence does exist and come out of HBCUs is phenomenal.
It was interesting too, because at the time I was getting pushed to consider, Ivy League and really like big name schools. And literally I went on that campus and I was just kind of like, I'm done. And when I came back to high school and people were like, well, this is where you're going. No, and I told them where I was going. People were like, well, what's that? And I was like, oh, whatever. And so, and I remember I would give the stats. I was like, oh, did you know that we've been number one? I wasn't even at the school, but at the time, but it was just one of those things where I wasn't, people weren't always like, oh yeah, you should do that. Mm-hmm. But I knew when I went there, I needed that space. I needed that time to be able to develop without any issues. Do you know what I mean? So that was what I remember. Mm-hmm.
You held a powerful position, a few powerful positions at Xavier, because I know when I walked on that campus, sophomore year, and actually, it was freshman year, and I saw you and a couple of your line sisters. I knew, first of all, I wanted to become a part of an illustrious sorority, the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, with my mom, actually my aunt were Deltas, and I would attend, chapter meetings. But when I went to Xavier, and I knew I wanted to come up in a chapter that was just doing it, right? Every single time. I saw Fall 95. I was like, oh, okay. they on it, right? Very timid in approaching you all, but it was just the power of just what you all embodied. And I know many of my line sisters, my big sisters, my little sisters can say the same thing about TSD. You all just came with it. And I've just grown to learn to know you, not just as a soror, but just as a sister. You approached and mentored so many of us on campus. I was involved in SGA all 4 years. You mentored me, a part of that. You were SGA president of our university as well. Can you just talk about, just kind of the positions you've held and why you chose to become a mentor? I'm sure it started before then, but why it was special for you at Xavier?
I was a peer dean. I think all 3-4 years I was there. All 3 years I was there. Loved it. For those of you who don't know, peer dean, you were upperclassmen that were helping usher freshmen in. And to me, because I knew I had such love for Xavier, I wanted to impart that into other people and make them feel welcome. I think this stems from sometimes because I didn't feel welcome in other places. I wanted to make sure that any place that I was in, people were welcome. That's what I wanted. I ran for ninth grade president our freshman year. I'm not ninth grade, sorry, freshman president my freshman year, and lost to Starsky. Shout out to Starsky, who is now the president of the Defense Fund. Children's Defense Fund, which is awesome. That just tells you the testament to what Xavier has. And then I went to, I said, okay, well, let me just do, forget the class thing. Let me just go to SGA. And so I was the congressperson. Then I became I think I was vice president. And then, I ran against Starsky again for student body president, and I won. And that was significant for me for a couple of reasons. But one, I didn't realize at the time that I was the second woman to be a student body president. But, and like we were talking about earlier, I never set out to do things to be first, second, whatever. It was just about, this is what I wanted to do. So you move forward in that space. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I did a lot of different things, community service, everything that I could get my hands into. Of course, Delta Sigma Theta was huge in my life. I actually come from a lot of my family were members of Alpha Kappa Alpha. But Delta spoke to me from when I encountered a Delta woman. I took care of her children. And then of course I got on campus, and shout out to Fund 93, who again, they were bosses too. But our senior year, Delta turned the White House red, or the Black and Gold House red, because it used to be the Alphas running everything. We ran everything that year. So, again, these were great times. But my thought process was always, I wanted the love of what I was doing to carry out to anybody that was with me. And I wanted everybody to feel welcome, no matter where I was, because that was something that was important to me. And I still feel like that's super important for me today, because we're not always in welcoming spaces. So I feel like I want people to feel like they are their best themselves and they're free to be themselves. They don't have to switch for me. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't switch for nobody else. So.
Right. Exactly. Christy, can you talk about one of your, and I know we didn't prepare questions beforehand. We just want the audience to know. So
Sure.
One of your fondest moments at Xavier?
There's so many.
Yeah.
I remember, I'll do a couple quick short ones.
One,
I was my first peer dean moment. We were silver, and we sang silver, not gold. It was like this competition. And just having our whole group, we had, he's a saxophonist, Marcel Genet. He played saxophone. We had Kelly Knighton, who was just singing her soul off. And I just remembered feeling so, great about that. I remember the very first time I heard Leslie Honoré speak. Man, she was awesome. And I used to write poetry. I used to do all that stuff. And after hearing her speak, I was like, I'm done with the poetry thing. So that was the whole Xavier, experience of seeing the people who were so great. And then, of course, crossing the burning sands in the Delta land. My biggest thing was actually walking into the room and seeing the women who were going to be my line sisters and being completely in awe and feeling like I just want to be worthy of this. That was another big thing. And of course, winning, student body president, because that was a huge, full circle thing for me. So, there's just so many things, that first acceptance into medical school, and seeing all of us get accepted to medical school. I don't think people understand the beauty of not being in competition with the people around you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that I liked everybody and everybody was cool, but there was not one time when somebody tried to sabotage somebody where, you know what I mean? Like, we were trying to all elevate. And that's something that, again, I took with me when I left and went back to PWI land and said, I'm still taking everybody with me.
I love it. Let's talk about your journey from Xavier to UAB. Medical school. Let's talk about the medical school experience and then
Sure. Tulane Medical School was great. Once again, there was only so there were, I think, 6 of us out of 150 African Americans. 4 of us were from Xavier. And I remember I went to the admissions, head of admissions, and I was like, why are there not more African Americans in this campus. We are in New Orleans. This is Louisiana. You know, we have a bunch of people from Xavier who were doing like, what's up, right? Because I was the president. I think I became president of Student National Medical Association like my sophomore year. But regardless, I got in his face, like, what's up? And he was just like, well, we actually accept a lot. They just don't come here. So then our group decided, okay, we're going to posse up and we're going to make sure that anybody that wants to, that is of a minority, who comes to interview, they see us. Because part of the problem is we're not always seen. I'm on my grind, right? So I don't know if they have African-American or minority students coming in. I might not go out of my way to see them because I'm studying, right? So we set it up so that the admissions committee would let us know when somebody was coming for interview. And so that we would make sure that we did the tours and that we would make sure that we answered questions and things like that so we could take the fear out of it. And because of that, that second year we had, I want to say 25 African Americans in that class because of the efforts of us. But that was just us speaking up and saying, this is what, I don't understand why Tulane's not doing better in terms of, you know, having more minority students, because we felt it was a great school. It just wasn't given, you know, we didn't understand. So that was us speaking up and speaking out. And then I did my MDL, but I also did my MPH. And one of the reasons I chose Tulane was because it was a 4-year program as opposed to 5 years. And I wanted to get 2 degrees because I wanted to learn the business side of medicine, because I always know I was going to be an advocate for my patients. And what people, in particular doctors, don't always understand is that it's not about just advocating for your individual patient. Hospitals, medicine is a business. The way I advocate for my patient is to take a population that's like my patient, bring it an issue to the hospital as a public health issue, as something that we can market, as something that we can build a program around, as something that can elevate the hospital. And so when you do that and the hospital buys in, not only have you helped that one particular patient, you've helped a population of patients, which is what they care about. Right. So you have to, when you're dealing with administrators and you know, the hospital in general, I wanted to be able to speak their language. So that way, when I go into these meetings, I'm going in there prepared to get what I want, with them thinking that it was their idea, or or that this is what they really want. You know, one of my little mottos is they don't mean no. They just don't know that they mean yes yet. It is my job to get them to that yes. And so that's how I approach making sure that, you know, that I'm advocating in a way that gets me what I want without them realizing it. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. Yes. Can you say that one more time? That's the word. The word all night. I want to, Chrissy Earl, I want to run around this room. That's what it's about. And we as a people have to learn how to do that every single time.
Absolutely.
Especially when we have an elevated position where we can do that. Right?
Well, you know, one of the things that is super important to me is advocacy and mentorship. Advocacy, because when you're one of the few in the space, if you sit in that space and you don't advocate for others, then you have wasted that space.
Right. And,
you know, you have to, you know, learn how to pick your battles. You have to learn how to frame the conversation. I totally believe you have to take the I out of it. I don't need to hear, oh, Dr. Gooden had that idea. That's not the point. As long as Dr. Gooden got what she wanted, I don't care who said or who wants to say this is the idea, right? Like, there are a lot of ideas that the hospital is like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. It came from me. That's okay. Because you know what? I got what I wanted. Do you know what I mean? And the people who know will know that it came from you. Do you know what I mean? But it's just one of those things where whenever I'm in a space and I'm occupying a space that is rare air. It is vaunted. It is a place that is not where we usually are. I'm looking at that space and going, how can I, one, bring somebody up with me so that there's more than one person? But two, how do I advocate something that they don't understand yet? Do you know what I mean? And in medicine, in any place, really, everybody has bias. Every single person has bias. They just don't understand how it impacts their decision making. So in particular, when I decided to do transplant, it's because there are so many minorities with diabetes, hypertension, things like that, but they're not always getting transplanted, whether it's fear, whether it's lack of referral. One of the reasons I started an access program is because dialysis access patients are often the lowest, on the totem pole, the lowest rung on the ladder. But they come to my office and we'll sit there and we'll talk. And some of them will be like, I don't know about transplant, doc. And I'm like, you know what? I did your access surgery. That went well, right? Yeah. I said, well, I do transplant too. Let's talk about what you're concerned about. You have patients who come through, young patients. I'll see 30-year-old African-American men, women with hypertension who didn't know they had high blood pressure, ended up on dialysis, and nobody has referred them to a transplant program in 3, 4, 5 years. Give me 30 minutes. I'm gonna have the application filled out. I'm gonna have them, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to make sure that I put myself in a space, in a place where I can not only advocate to the patient, but that when they come up in the selection committee and people want to bring up, well, what about this issue or whatever? And you're like, well, wait a minute. We accepted 5 patients with the same issue. What's the difference between this patient and that patient? When you bring it up like that, they're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, I know you didn't. That's okay. It's my job to think about it that way without calling you out on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. No. Advocacy is about advocating to and for your patients behind the scenes and actually directly to them. Absolutely. Knowing what they can make an informed decisions about their lifestyle, know they have access to make these decisions that they are not aware of, explaining these procedures or these choices, because many are not aware. They just hear from grandmama and them or Uncle Charles, but they really don't know what it would be like for them. And then going ahead and having that conversation with their surgeon and making this decision that can be life-changing. That is so important. Give her 30 minutes, y'all. Making t-shirts around here, because that's all it takes in order for people to understand that. And look, you've changed so many lives just having that conversation. Not just with the patients, but also with the people in charge of making these decisions with them as well, ultimately.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Christy.
Oh, thank you. I love what I do. And I think that it comes across to my patients. I have had people call me and say, hey, can you just talk to my auntie? Yep, come on. It is what it is. But we have to understand that we have to use our power while we can. And not only that, we have to make sure that there's not a vacuum when we leave. You know what I mean? And so that's what, that's what's super important to me, that when I'm ready to retire, there's not, one person, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 people that are prepared to, come behind me, when I'm out. Because if I don't, then who's going to fill that space, right? I have to fill space while I'm there and bring people along to fill it when I'm gone. That's the goal. That's the purpose, right? So, I just have such a heart for what our patients go through. And there's so little education out there. There's so much misinformation out there, especially as we all know, there's a war on science right now going on. You're just like, hold up. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I understand. Listen, I get what you're saying, but baby, that's not how science works. You know what I mean? Right. That's not how. And like the beauty of one of the real reasons I love transplant was because when I take an organ for one person and put into another, you can't look at an organ and tell whether it's black, white, yellow, red, green, purple, whatever. You can't tell. You cannot tell. It's an organ. It goes in one person and goes into another person. It works beautifully. It's God's design. It's great. You know what I'm saying? And it reminded me that the things that we use to separate ourselves are total crap, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Dr. Gooden, when you actually decided to attend University of Alabama's general surgery program, you know that you would be the first African-American woman to attend that program and to successfully graduate from that program?
I had no idea. What I was looking for, number one, if you make a decision to train in the South, you have to know what you're dealing with, right? So what I looked for, and in particular in general surgery is a very male-dominated field. So to me, it wasn't about how many minorities they had. It was how many women. Because in general surgery in particular, I mean, I remember I went on interviews and one of the attendings was like, I don't know how to train a woman. Okay, we're not even, I'm done here. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, and they had a lot of women in their program, from their attendings to their residents. And so it was one of those things where I was like, okay, you know, at least I can deal with that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I was the first African-American woman to graduate from that program until I was walking down the hall to go talk to Dr. Bland, who was our chair at the time. And they have a picture of every person who's graduated. And I was looking just because I think I was waiting on him for something. And I realized that there were no African-American women. And so it just, I wasn't treated like that. I mean, in the South, the issue is the patients more than, I mean, okay, look, I had my share of micro and macroaggressions. I've had to dress down a few people. I had to remind people who they talking to. I mean, that's just, you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I remember I had one senior resident who was like, oh, you're liberal now, but once you start making money, you know, you'll become a Republican. All you people do. Time out. Hold up. You know what I mean? So he had to get addressed. And so, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. You know, one thing Xavier taught me was I don't have to change up for anybody. I am who I am. I'm going to take care of my patients and I'm going to do what I got to do. And you're going to respect me regardless. So, you know, you have that. And, you know, I remember I had an attending, you know, once try to tell me how his wife, she's a doctor. And, you know, if she had to do it all again, she probably wouldn't be a doctor. You know, she probably want to take care of her kids. This is after I had my twins. And I was looking at him like, I don't know why you're telling me this information. It's just one of those things. I had a great experience in terms of I learned a lot. I had a great education. I was exposed to a lot, and that's what it's about. When you are in surgery, when you're in residency period, it is not about making the best friends in the world, right? It's about getting the training that you need to get where you want to go. At the time, I thought I wanted to do heart surgery, and they had a huge and great heart surgery program. I fell in love with transplant because their transplant program was huge. And I had great mentors like Dr. Young, who's an African-American man, and things like that. And so, you know, you take your mentors as you can, you know? So I don't know if it was any more difficult for me being, you know, an African-American woman and being the first. But I know that, you know, were there obstacles to overcome? Absolutely. I think what people don't understand, and we talked about this a little bit ahead of time, but I made it despite racism, in spite of racism, not because there's no racism. Do you know what I mean? And so I think sometimes when people look at people who are in these fields, they think, oh, this is proof there's no racism. It's like, no, honey, this is proof that, you know, I learned how to get around you. You know, you put roadblocks and that's great, but I learned how to get around you. And that's what's important.
Amen. Thank you for speaking that. I have a really dear friend of mine who's considering going into a residency where he would be the first African-American male. And there was a conversation that he was thinking about wanting to, gain all the knowledge he can so he'd be prepared for any type of case that presents his way.
Right.
But at the same time, trying to be supported in a residency program where he would get the knowledge and the information and the access to be able to get that, And so I think
what I tell my students and my residents who are in similar situations is you have to figure out who your allies are. Yeah. An ally does not necessarily mean your best friend. There was not, my husband and I got married my intern year because we dated at Xavier. My husband's from New Orleans. He didn't go to Xavier. Everybody thought he went to Xavier because we were at Xavier all the time. But my support system was my husband, my family, my sisters, my line sisters, people like that. My support wasn't necessarily from the hospital per se. Do you know what I mean? My support were the nurses and the janitorial staff. The calls, listen, let me tell you, the call center ladies, they would have food and I would get the text, hey, boo boo, you on call? Because we got dinner down here. Okay. Right. Yes. So you have to find your support system where it is. And I think people looking for traditional, I'm not a white male. I am not going to have all these attendings that are white males that are comfortable with going hunting and this and that and blah, 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 blah. They're not going to be my best friends. That doesn't mean I can't learn from them. That doesn't mean they can't teach me. But what it means is I can't depend on them to move me through the system. I have to find ways to move through the system on my own and then get the support that I need from the people who I know love me and are going to support me, not be disappointed because this attending for whatever reason just doesn't like me. That's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? But I'm going to take care of their patients. And that's what's important about everything. If I take care of the patients, I don't care what you think about me. You cannot question how I take care of your patients. So, it's just one of those things where you have to go into the mindset of, I may not have the support that Timmy has, right? But that doesn't mean I can't get the education that Timmy's getting.
Right. Oh. Hey, no, that's speak the word, Christy. Speak it. Christy, you went to University of Michigan, where I'm from, Michigan, as well. How was your experience in Michigan and just kind of going from the South to the North? Yeah. And having that transition. I mean,
Michigan was great. Michigan was the first time, I was wearing a white coat. This is like my first day. I think it was my first day. I was wearing my white coat and somebody walked by and they were like, good morning, doctor. And I looked around. I'm like, you're talking to me? Because I had just done 7 years in Birmingham, Alabama, where I don't care how many times I called myself a doctor, how many times I introduced myself as a doctor. I was the janitorial staff. I was the dietary staff. I was the, you know what I'm saying? I was anything but a doctor. Do you know what I mean? Like there was one time, and this is not just because I was African-American, just being a woman. We had this trauma patient who was really sick, and it was we call our team Estrogen. We had a woman attending, and there were 3 surgery residents, and we were all women. And we talked to that family night and day because the patient was sick, and my attending talked to the patient, all this other stuff. The attending rotated off, and a male attending came on, and that family said, "Thank God we haven't seen a doctor since he's been here." You know what I'm saying? So when I went to Michigan, and they were like, "Good morning, doctor," I was like, "Oh, this is different." Wow. Do you know what I mean? So Michigan was great. I learned a lot. I operated a ton. They trusted me. Michigan was great for my my confidence because I think about I stayed at UAB. I was supposed to stay at UAB, but I decided to go to University of Michigan. I think it would have been a little too easy. Everyone knew everybody. Do you know what I mean? When you know the ins and outs of a hospital, when you can, maneuver and get fed for free, and you know what I'm saying? When everybody knows you and trusts you, it's different going to University of Michigan, which has the name, and go there and still be trusted, still be respected. it gives you this confidence like, okay, I was trained well. I am being trained well. I can leave this program with the confidence of having my experience at UAB and my experience at University of Michigan. And, it's similarly the same thing. The reason I found out I was the first African-American to graduate from that program, I was waiting on something, and I was looking around, and they had all the pictures up of the fellows they had graduated. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not just the first Black woman. There's no Black people on this wall. Oh, wow. And I had brought that to their attention, et cetera, a little bit later on. But I think they were surprised as well, because they had a good number of African-American students and residents. They just didn't have anybody they didn't choose or select anybody to go into transplant at that program. So, again, it's not like I set out to be first. It was a great program, and I wanted to make sure that I had the confidence to come out and be a great transplant surgeon, which is what I wanted. I wanted to come out and be able to technically, take it out and put it in. That's what I wanted.
Thank you for sharing the importance of self-cultivation and blossoming where you were planted. So are Wendy Green.
Thanks, Wendy.
So true. Comments. I mean, we have a show on just the comments here for you, Dr. Gooden.
Oh.
Just because, you're just a trailblazer defined. Tell us about transplant surgery, Dr. Gooden, for those who may be interested in it, or for those who are patients who may be contemplating this as an option for their healthcare.
Absolutely.
I know that you believe in the wealth of health, and that's things that you believe in as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Transplant to me is my ministry. It's my proof that God exists. It is a beautiful thing to turn tragedy into triumph, right? We're all gonna die. It's written, right? Mm-hmm. But there's one thing to die, and there's another thing to die and leave a legacy. Mm-hmm. One donor, a really good donor, can affect the lives of 8 people plus. And our God is a God of a second chance. So I always, when I'm talking to patients and they're like, well, I had my shot and I just didn't do well with it. I'm like, well, who said that, who said that means that you don't get another opportunity? You know what I mean? And so, sometimes health happens, or bad health happens because of something that we've done. Sometimes it's lack of education. Sometimes it's lack of access to health and lack of access to food and good food. And sometimes it's you were born with a disease, right? But transplant is an opportunity for a do-over. And to me, the fact that, for instance, kidneys, right? You do not need 2 kidneys to survive. All you need is 1. Like if you did a study on my kidneys right now, they're both working part-time. So if my husband, my kids, somebody needs a kidney, take that 1 kidney out, give it to them, and my other kidney's gonna keep me going. To me, that's God's design, right? You can't. That's like perfect designing. Do you know what I'm saying? The fact that we could take it out is not gonna bother you. Like put you, to me, that is something that I love about transplant. So. Transplant is just an opportunity for us to have a better life, a better chance at life, a second chance at life. And who wouldn't want a second chance? And I think so many times people rule themselves out because maybe they're ashamed of how they got there. But again, and everybody has their own faith, but in Christianity, you're taught there is no condemnation. Do you know what I mean? And so sometimes your story of failing and coming back can be the story that helps somebody else come back. And so these are the things that I'll talk about with my patients when they come to me with, well, I had my shot, or whatever it happens to be, whatever. I tell my kids all the time, you don't want to be the any excuse will do person, right? Because that's never going to get you anywhere, right? So I fell in love with transplant when I was a resident. At the time, the kidney program was doing 300 something kidneys a year. And I just saw how not only can transplant give you quantity of life, it can give you better quality of life. And there are a lot of things in medicine that we do that may extend your life, but may not give you the quality of life. I wanted to be a part of the story where not only do I give you length, I give you better. That is a powerful thing. The other thing about transplant is the patients are clearly in the middle. Transplant is one of the specialties where medicine, pharmacy, surgeons, we all work together. We all work together. The patients in the middle, we got social worker, we have our own dietitian. Like, this is where we say, this is what you want to do as a physician. It's not say, well, all I do is this, and all I do is this, and that's how that goes. No. You just want to say, what does my patient need, and how can we all work together to get my patient moving forward, our patient moving forward? You don't always find that in medicine. So I just, transplants my heart. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's something about, I don't care. I can do 6 transplants in a row. I could be on team no sleep, whatever. When I get the phone call at 3 a.m., you got a transplant offer, I'm up. Oh, I do? Who's it gonna be? Is this any good? What are we gonna do? You know what I mean? And so people have laughed at me. They're like, oh, I even had people at one program I was at, people were like, well, you don't have to pretend to have the, to be, so energetic. And I'm like, baby, this is not, I first of all, I don't pretend for nobody. I ain't pretending for you. Number one, I ain't got nothing to prove. But 2, this is what I love. If at 3 a.m. in the morning you're not popping up ready to go, then maybe you're not in the right line of work. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If I'm tired, there's nothing like scrubbing in and you're about to do a liver transplant. You're about to do there's nothing like it to me. So every time it happens, I'm like, let's go. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Dr. Gooden, for the folks who are not aware, can you talk a little bit about like the average time this happens? It's not just about, going from Oregon and then just putting in there. And I mean, transplant surgeons, they work many hours. Is that how many hours on average would you do abdominal transplant surgery?
It depends. I tell people all the time, transplant is feast or famine, right? So it's either I'm super bored or I'm super busy. So there will be times that I've literally done 3 days. Like, there was one week where I did like a transplant every day, or 2 or 3, and or 6 and 24 hours or whatever. It comes when it comes. So there are times when I have a relatively normal week. I come in, I see my patients, I roll out. And then, hang out with the kids or do whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then there's some weeks where it's like, okay, I'm coming home to get a nap, and then I'll see y'all maybe tomorrow. Oh, nope, got another transplant. I'll see you the next day. On average for me, a kidney transplant takes about, on average, about 2.5 hours. Liver transplants can be about 5, 6. Kidney, pancreas, if you do both organs at the same time, can be about 8. About 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours, depending. I also have great partners. And so we work together. And I think that's the other thing that's really important, and I think this is for anything. It's not about just what you do, but it's about the people you work with. So I have worked with really good people. We're on the same page. Like that patient who had bariatric surgery to get his transplant, that patient, the reason he's not been transplanted in 3+ years, it's because nobody would see him.
Wow.
And where we live in Dallas, in general, if you had a BMI over a certain number, nobody would even look at you. I wasn't trained that way. My partner, Matt Malloy, we weren't trained that way. So we see anybody. I'll see anybody, any weight, and we will have a discussion about what's safe and what's not. Same with age. Not everybody who's 75 is the same. You got some 75s doing marathons. You telling me they can't have a transplant? You know what I mean? So I think, to me, every person deserves to look a surgeon or a doctor in the eye and have a real discussion about the risks and the benefits. And at the end of the day, if we decide the risks are greater than the benefits, then at least you had a discussion instead of a letter saying you're too fat. I hate that. Do you know what I mean? Every patient deserves a chance to have an eye-to-eye discussion with the physician about their health. And I think that's what's important.
Amen. Amen. Dr. Good, I want to end our conversation just talking a little bit about outside of medicine. You are a wife, a wonderful wife of an amazing person. I've known him since Xavier days as well. I would remember, but I actually rode with you to drop off your application for the University of Florida, or we were applying in Florida.
It's something. There was probably applying for University of Southern Florida was a program I looked at for medical school. Yeah, I think so.
Right. And I think that's when I met Mr. Gregory. Can you talk a little bit about Mr. Gregory?
Absolutely. So I met Greg the summer before my junior year of Xavier, and we have been together ever since. He's seen me through the MCAT, which is the medical college admissions test. He's seen me through intern year when we didn't have the 80-hour work week, so I was working 120 hours a week. When I was running for student body president, he helped me make my those wooden signs we used to have on campus. He made that for me, helped me make that for me. He let me use his apartment for we won't say pledging activities, stepping, step practice. So we've been together for a long, long time. For me and for him, and when we met, he wasn't in college. But when we met, one of the first things I used to do is I would talk to a guy would be to tell him what I wanted to do with my life, which at the time was be a heart surgeon. And there were some guys who were just kind of like, why you want to do that? Or, whatever. Like some people were intimidated by that. And Greg was one of the first guys to be like, ooh, why'd you decide to do that? Tell me more. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things where from the very beginning, he was always really supportive of the fact and excited about the things that I wanted to do. So to me, that was super important. So he owns his own business. He remodels houses, et cetera. And, he's gone through his fair share of micro and macroaggressions too. You know what I mean? What up? Oh my gosh, what are you going to do when she starts making more money? He was like, what are you talking about? Like, we did this together. Like, this is what we do. And, because of our relationship, I'm able to do, he helps me hold down the kids. Right. I have my twins are 14. I had them when I was in residency. So during my research years, Gregory and Gabby. And I loved your ADHD commercial because my son has ADD and Dr. Don has helped me with my son. And so I'm so appreciative to you for that, because Greg and I had to figure out, what does this mean and how do we do it? And he's doing so much better because we had you to talk to. So I'm forever grateful for you for helping me with my boy. But, I have Gregory, I have Gabby. They're amazing kids. I just, I thank God for them every day because they appreciate, it's funny because they get a little bit jaded. They'll come home and like, what did you do today? And I'll be like, oh, I had clinic. Oh, you didn't transplant anybody? No, not today. Okay. Oh, you didn't do nothing. Why you ain't home if you didn't transplant nobody? And so they're hilarious and they're their own people, and they're just they keep me laughing. So I always wanted to be wife, mother, surgeon, and the only way you can do that is to have somebody who is supportive of your dreams and what you want to do. So I think sometimes people get it twisted, talking about evenly yoked, meaning monetarily. That's not necessarily what the yoke means. To me, it means you carry the burden equally. And so, we've carried the burden of my dreams since we met, some before my junior year of college. And I think we stood the test of time because we recognized early on that we were going to carry each other through, our dreams. I think to me, that's what's important. So I can't do all these things and be successful at it without the support of him and, without having my babies keeping me grounded and keeping me laughing. And he keeps me laughing. And they remind me what's important, beyond, just, what I do and as a career. Because at one day there will be retirement. And in that retirement, I want to be able to still be able to enjoy life with my husband and enjoy, my kids growing up and not, engage in that whole mommy guilt thing people try to have you You're supposed, like, in order to be a mother, you're supposed to have mom guilt or something. I just don't really subscribe to that. I was raised by a working mom. All my friends that I know most of them were raised by working moms. So I don't know when it became in vogue for us to feel guilty about working. So I think it's just about balance, and it's never going to be perfect, but it doesn't have to be. Where in life does it say everything's going to be at a perfect balance and you're always going to be like, who gave you that promise? Some of y'all need to reread the Bibles.
Oh, Lord. I'm just going to run around this room real quick. Yes. Oh, Dr. Gooden. 2 more questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I know over time. One is the sisterly love that you have with your line sisters that I admired when I first saw you all together. Can you talk a little bit about that?
My heart beats.
Your heart.
I want to impress more than anybody else in the world. Let me tell you something. People think I'm impressive, please. My line sisters are ridiculous. Okay. Like I walk into the room and I'm just like, okay, I just got to be better because I want to make y'all proud. That's, you know what I mean? And like, my twin is a captain in the Navy. Come on. You know what I'm saying? One of my line sisters is a patent lawyer, my other line sister, T. Sloan's is like, in a head of ethics in Congress. Like when you are surrounded by people who every day make you feel like I need to step up my game. You know what I mean? And we always talk about it. Iron sharpens iron, every single one of my line sisters make me better. And I'm so grateful for them in my life because they just, that's what I mean by I didn't need the validation from the attendings and the other residents. And I didn't need that. I have a squad. I have a team. I have people who believe in me. I don't need people who don't know me or who have biases. I don't need to prove anything to them. My line sisters love me. Shoot. Yeah. If they say I'm good, if they say I look good, I must look good. If they say they're proud of me, I must have done something to make them proud. Because I will tell you, these sisters right here, if you ain't doing right, boo-boo. Right. You need to go. Look, me and my line sister Natasha, we used to get in an argument every day when we were pledging Fall 97, and every day, and then we would go to lunch every day. Like we would be fussing, fighting, hollering at, you know what I'm saying, and then we would go to lunch the next day. You know what I mean? I mean, it was, these are the people that have, and not just them. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like my Xavier Rights, one of my girls, D, we've been cool since HH 94. I mean, I got people. I have people, right? And that's Xavier gave me those people. Mm-hmm. So anything that I've done, will do is a testament to those people. Mm-hmm. Testament to my upbringing, to my mom, my dad, my brother, to my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. You know what I'm saying? But Xavier gave me all the tools necessary to stand in my truth. Mm-hmm. And I think to me, that's what's so important. And that's why I'm always preaching it to anybody who will listen, just because, I don't know if I would have I was always strong-willed, etc. I'm not saying that. Like I was showing my kids, I look back at my high school yearbook and I had a shirt that says racism is an illness. So, it wasn't like I've been, but I learned so much more about myself, my mission, living in my truth, being unafraid, being unapologetic, from so many people. And so it's just one of those things. I live to make the Xavier community proud. I'm proud of every single Xavierite. Every time I see somebody do something, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? because that's just what we do for each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And we're very proud of you, Dr. Gooden. We're very proud of you and the legacy that you are building for your children and for our world. All right. Thank you for being a trailblazer, the line of first for many to follow and to be inspired by. I know I don't speak for myself, but we really, truly admire all that you've done, all that you are doing to make our world a better place.
I really, you know, like I said, we talked about it before, but advocacy, mentorship, you know, to me, these are the things that are due on this earth, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, we always talk about to whom much is given, much is required. But I think it goes beyond that. I think it really goes to the fact that you have to be intentional. When God places you somewhere, you have to be intentional to find your purpose in that place, good, bad, or indifferent, right? Because not everything is going to be perfect. You know what I mean? Not every situation is going to feel good or be great, but there's always a purpose. And so we just have to be intentional with trying to find God's purpose and find our purpose in it. And make sure that when you leave, wherever it happens to be, that people felt like you cared. People felt like you made a difference. And I think that's what's important. That's what helps me sleep at night. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I need to look in the mirror and be like, okay, I did the best I could. And that's going to have to be enough. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just, it was good talking to you, Dawn.
A way to kick my year off. My spirit. Thank you for blessing me tonight.
Oh, listen, you are a blessing. This whole series that you're doing, I'm so, like I said, listen, I want to be, you know, wind beneath everybody's wings. I'm on to clap so hard, y'all just keep flying up higher. You know what I mean? It's so funny because I don't feel like this is weird to say. I don't feel like I did anything special. Do you know what I mean? I just followed what I was supposed to be doing. Do you know what I mean? Like I just followed the path that I was supposed to be on, and listening to that voice and insight that tells you which way to go. Do you know what I mean? So it's weird when we talk about these things, when people ask me about it, because I don't feel like I didn't intentionally set out to do like things. Do you know what I mean? But I am intentional about being an advocate, being a mentor, because that's what I feel like I'm put on this earth to do transplant, to advocate for my patients, and in particular the people who are underserved and forgotten, and to help people do the same behind me and give them the strength to come behind me and not feel so afraid. Because I truly believe you get told can't so many times. You need to see somebody who did, so that can't gets dialed down. Do you know what I mean? Because I got told can't. Do you know what I mean? I got told can't. You can't be. I'm in the middle of my surgery residency, and they're telling me, oh, you know, we thought about you for chief resident, but you have twins. So what? I can't. What's that got to do with? You know what I'm saying? You know, you can be.
Right.
Sometimes you have to see it. I didn't have anybody to see.
Yes.
Do it. But I want to be able to make sure that if people see me, they know that they can.
Yes.
And I'm not extraordinary. Okay. I just walked in my purpose. You don't have to be amazing. You just walk in your purpose. That's it.
Then it will lead you to extraordinary things.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I appreciate about what you just said is that when people often tell you can't, it's because they can't. Or they think they can't. They've already made that decision for you because of what they believe for themselves.
Yeah. I tell my surgery residents all the time, back when I was in academic medicine, and my mentees and my mentors, the people who often told me that I can't be a mom and be a surgeon never popped out a kid. You know what I mean? Don't have the ability to pop out a kid. So why am I going to listen to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I going to listen if you can't even have a child? Then how do you know what I can't? You know what I'm saying? And so it's just, you have to consider I tell my residents and my students and my mentees, you have to consider the source, right? Just because they can't see doesn't mean you can't. You know, it's so much. There's so many people who are going to be against you. Those aren't reasons to not do it.
Oh, man.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what it was, but I don't think I listened to those voices. I listened to the voice inside that said, why can't you? If this is what you want to do, this is what you dreamed about, then this is what you're going to do. Do you know what I mean? So I just, I don't know. It's not me. It's not me. It's God's grace and me walking in his purpose. That's it. Anything extraordinary I've done is not because of me. It's because of what he wanted for me and the people he put in my life to help me maneuver through. So and I think that's what's important to remember, because every time I try to think it's me, I get the slam. Like,
real quick.
Right. Hold up. You think this is you? Okay, let me show you. This is not you. So
thank you so much for blessing me on a Sunday. Again, I'm about to run around this room.
I love you so much. I wish you so much, in this new year, and to everybody who's listening, I wish everybody continued success. My cousin said it, 2020 was a great year because we were all on the wake up list. Mm-hmm. Some people weren't on the wake up list and didn't make it to 2021. So if we made it here is because we have a purpose. And if you can't see God's plan, you might want to start looking.
No, I'm telling you, I'm itching over here. I don't know about y'all out there. In a minute, Dr. Christy.
I come from a long line of preachers, so this
yes.
So it's just ingrained.
When is the book coming, Dr. Christy?
Ain't no book. No. You know what? I have learned. I used to want the this and the that, but I am content being in the background, doing the work, pushing programs forward, helping my mentees, being the wind beneath other people's wings. I am really not, like, I was really not uncomfortable with the interview, but I don't, sometimes people miss the message because they think you're about yourself and self-promoting. I'd much rather be standing behind somebody else, pushing them forward, letting them get the credit, because I don't need it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I used to need it. I used to need that validation, but I don't anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's my purpose. I think my purpose is to help other people get up and get the validation and get, you know what I'm saying? And give them what they need to move forward. So I just saw Kelly say, don't listen to that. I just listen. I'm not going to question. But seriously, I love being a mentor. I feel at my best when I'm sitting down with somebody and we're working through strategy together to get them to the next level. That's when I feel like, okay, this is, you know what I mean? There's something beautiful. That's the only thing I miss about teaching. There's something beautiful about seeing somebody grow and develop and that you help them. And then like 10 years later, like, I still remember you telling me this. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's what's important. It's we got to build an army. I want an army of women surgeons. I want an army of just, people who come up behind and kick down the doors. That's what I want. Do you know what I mean? Like, me, that's not important. It's what I can do for everybody else. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what has been revealed.
I'm gonna find my spot on your team.
Look, I'm following you.
You head of this one. Sorry. Yes.
Look, listen, serial entrepreneur. Okay.
One thing I wanted to show and just end the segment with is that first time I heard you on Tom Joyner, you broke down. I mean, I know that he was just asking questions about diabetes and what people, African Americans, can do, and why historically are we predisposed at a high risk of acquiring diabetes. I mean, and you just broke it down in a way that people just understood it, right? I mean, this is a chronic condition that is literally killing many of us. And I thought that was an outstanding interview, Dr. Chris. I mean, I heard that interview over and over again. And even I heard your, just who you were. Like, it's early. Like, y'all calling me where I am. Like, yeah, I'm asleep. Like, you think this is like a noon interview? And I was just cracking up because that's who you are. Like, you're exactly right. And I think you said it throughout this interview is that you're who you are. And that's one of the things that I loved about you, that you stand firm in your spot, in your place, and you go forth and you don't change for anyone and you just go full speed ahead. And how you broke down that interview was just truly remarkable. I was like, well, I want to be on Tom Joyner. And I'm so serious. I saw you, Dr. Christie. I saw you. And then I started speaking it. And that's how I was actually on the show. That's truly the honest to God truth. I know I've never shared that with you, but I want to share that publicly. I saw you.
Oh my God.
What you're doing is effective. It's inspiring. It's powerful. And please continue, because people like me are the wind beneath your wings as well. So thank you so much for being who you are. We're going to uphold you just like you uphold us. It works both ways, but you're truly inspiration to many of us, all of us. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have truly enjoyed this, Dawn. I always love talking to you anyway, but this has been fun. So anyways, I love you.
Love you too.
To all the Xavier Rights I saw pop in, XU for life. Y'all can't tell me nothing about no XU. Of course, to all my sorors out there, you know what that is. Much love to all of you guys and everybody out there on the grind. Anybody that happens to be listening, if there's anything that I have said that has inspired you to move on, then or to move forward or whatever, that's all I ever want to do, is to show people what's possible, and that's what's important.
Amen.
And we're here to support each other.
Thank you so much. We love you.
Love you too.
And everyone, please share this with everyone you know. This was truly a remarkable broadcast this evening. Dr. Christie Gooden. And Dr. Gooden, where can we find you? For those who are interested, is there a place that we could find you?
I think I'm so see. I told you I don't really do this whole promotion thing. I think there's a Twitter handle. I think it's Doc Donate Life. I'm on Instagram somewhere. Listen, my grind is at we're building. Our hospital is building. So
that's what I'm saying. Someone is in the area, they want to talk to
Medical City Dallas. I'm over the North Texas Dialysis Access Clinic. We are building up our pediatric program. We're starting a liver program. We have more than doubled our pancreas numbers in 1 year. We have been one of the top growing programs in the country in terms of kidney transplant. So really the best place to find my stuff is just what we're doing with Medical City Dallas, because we've taken that program from a program that was only doing 30 transplants a year to doing over 160 transplants, 160 transplants. And even with COVID, we did transplants, and there's just 3 of us. So, that's where to find me. Medical City Dallas. That's but the whole, like I said, I don't do the self-promotion thing. I don't know how to do that. I know what I know how to do is grind. And right now my program is building and I love it. I love being on the ground floor, because when we're done with this program, the next 5 years, Medical City Dallas is going to be like a name. Like, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, they're doing all that. And I'm like, yep, we did all that.
It's already there. All right. Thank you so much, Christy. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please thank your husband and your twins. Thank you for the time.
I'm so proud of them because they've been they're around the corners or whatever. And I told them, I said, Mom's got to do an interview. So blah, blah, blah. I was trying not to be too loud. And they've been really good. So
please. All right. You have a wonderful evening. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, Don. Much love to you. Much love to everybody.
I love you, honey. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.